What's up, guys? It's 3 a.m. again. Here I am recording instead of sleeping. I've been a little sick too, which kind of sucks, but yeah, that was kind of messing with my sleep yesterday. But yeah, so tonight you're here probably because you also can't sleep like me, and you're probably dealing with anxiety, right? And tonight's video is going to be about just the paralyzing feeling anxiety gives you, and I want to give you guys some tips on how I wouldn't say I've fully overcame it, but I've really gotten better about it. And of course, I'm not a professional, guys. I'm not a therapist. I'm just a guy who's gone through maybe a similar thing you're going through, and I just want to give my advice because if it can help even just one person, I think it's worth sharing for sure. So yeah, I guess just first I'll explain kind of what I'm talking about, that paralyzing feeling of anxiety. What exactly do I mean, right? You might already know what I mean just by hearing it because you've been through it. But what I do mean is when you want to do certain things in your life, right? Whether it's make a big decision, like you're like, you know what, I'm gonna do this, right? Like let's say it's like you're like, you know what, I want to decide that I want to get into the gym, like start getting into the gym, start like eating right, all that stuff, right? Like the whole thing, not just like go to the gym once a week. I mean, like, start doing like the eating, the going like 5 times a week or something. I don't know, all that, right? But anxiety, you sit there and you're worried, like, is this going to take time away from my studies? Like, right, let's say you're in school, right, you're in like college or something. You're like, is this going to take time away from my studies? Oh, is this going to affect my grades? Oh, is this going to take time away from whatever, right? Maybe you have other commitments besides, that, right? And you let anxiety and all these stressors that you have that, I mean, the truth is deep down, and the working out may affect it, but you know that you can do it. And yet your anxiety makes you seem like you can't, and you just don't end up doing it, right? And stuff like that sucks because it holds us back from doing things we want to do, right? I mean, if you, again, like one example as well is like if you want to go skydiving, right, and you're like, anxiety's like, no, what if the parachute breaks, right? And so you just don't do it, right? Even though you really want to do it because you think it'd be really cool, but your anxiety's like, nah, right? And so you just give in. And I'm sure we've all been there countless times, right? With a bunch of different things, small decisions, big decisions, small things, big things, whatever, right? And yeah, it sucks, right? Because in a way, it kind of makes you feel like you don't have control over your decisions, right? Like you do, but you feel like you don't because of just how strong your anxiety is. And I think one thing, probably the worst thing about that to me, is that once you reach the end of your life, right, which hopefully is, far down the line, obviously, but regardless, right, you don't want to go out with regrets of things you didn't do, right? I think that's one thing that kind of, I mean, it's the grim reality of anxiety doing things like that to you, because you may die, like with all these regrets, right, of not doing certain things, and that could literally just be due to your anxiety. And hopefully that doesn't scare you guys. It shouldn't though, because you can overcome this, right? And I'm gonna try and give you some tips, and I mean, regardless, I'd hope they'd help, obviously, even just a little bit, but regardless if they help or not, you're gonna be able to get out of this. I know you can. If I can do it, then I know you guys can as well. So yeah. But so here's how I want to touch on it. Sorry, I'm sick, guys. I'm like okay. Anyways, yeah. So here's how I want to kind of break this down, right? Like, I think of like 3 different types of thinking, right? You have the anxious thinking, right, when it's basically just your anxiety thinking for you. You have realistic thinking, which is like, yeah, anxiety's weighing in a little, but anxiety's natural, guys, right? Like, it exists for a reason. It is important, even if it's, we definitely don't need as much as we have, I'm sure, but it is an important thing, right? And I think, sorry, I should try to talk a little softer, guys. But I think that you have the balanced thinking, right? Like I said, the anxious thinking, the balanced thinking is a little bit of that anxiety, but for the most part, it's you making the decision, right? And making the level-headed and realistic decision, right? Thinking realistically, that's what I would call it. It'd be like the anxious thinking, the realistic thinking, which is, again, your anxiety is going to weigh in somewhat, right? Because you have to acknowledge the worst case scenario, right? But you're also thinking about what's realistic, right? All the options, and you're like, okay, realistically, this is probably what's going to happen, right? And then you have the sunshine and rainbows thinking, which is basically just like, oh no, nothing bad would ever happen, right? But I think where we want to be is that realistic thinking, right? I think that's where everyone would want to be if they could choose, basically. Because sunshine and rainbows, I mean, you need to at least have some acknowledgement in your mind of what could happen. But that doesn't mean it has to stop you or make it the end of the world, right? It's just like, hey, I mean, that's a risk, but there's risk with everything in life, right? Driving to work, driving to school, right? Like, there's a lot of risk with that, but we do it every day. And so, yeah, but so here's how I'd break down the realistic or each level of thinking, right? The anxious thinking, we'll use the skydiving example again, right? If you wanted to go skydiving, right? Like, let's say you think it'd be a really cool experience, but sorry guys, jeez. But you're anxious thinking, right? You're thinking through the anxious lens. You're thinking, oh yeah, no, there's a good chance that my parachute fails, or like the plane crashes on the way up to the sky, right? You're thinking all these things, and you're thinking about them like there's like a high chance of them happening, right? Like, it's like either that's gonna happen or I'm gonna be fine. You're thinking about them like they're almost like a 50-50 chance, when that's not at all true, not even close, right? And so that's the anxious thinking, and that's where unfortunately maybe a lot of you guys are at with some things. I've definitely been there too, and I mean, I'm still not perfect. There's still times where that happens, but yeah. Then you have the realistic thinking. Like I said, this is where we want to be, and this is where I really try to ground myself to, and I feel like I'm pretty much there. Again, like I said, it still varies, but I think this is where you want to be in the realistic thinking. And this scenario would be like, geez, I'm sorry guys, again, I'm struggling with this sickness, but the realistic thinking would be like, okay, yeah, there's like a very small chance that my parachute could fail. Like, that is a possibility, right? You acknowledge it, but you also understand, okay, realistically, we're going to be fine, right? There's so much preparation in advance for this, right? And there's a lot of safety things, and yeah, basically you understand, okay, yeah, there's some risk with this, but it's very little. I know realistically I'm probably going to be fine, so you end up doing it, right? And then there's the sunshine and rainbows, where you're like, oh, this sounds so fun, and you just don't even acknowledge what could happen at all. Which, at the end of the day, like I said, I think it's important to at least acknowledge the risk, because you should know risk going into something. But again, like I said, it doesn't mean it has to stop you completely from doing it or make it the end of the world. So yeah, I guess now you guys are probably wondering what's helped me kind of get to that realistic thinking, whereas I was so stuck in that anxious thinking for so long. And over this past, I would say, calendar year, yeah, like 2026, I've really worked my way out of it. And I would say, for me, honestly, it's hard to explain a little bit, but so look, like, let me just put this into perspective, right? Like, next time you guys want to do something, make a decision, like I said, or do whatever, and you feel that anxious thinking, what you need to do is acknowledge your anxious thinking, right? I just find that getting in better touch with your emotions and how you're thinking, right? Acknowledging that, okay, no, my thinking here is, like, I'm acting like, you have to be self-aware of your emotions, is what I'm trying to say. You're thinking, and when you acknowledge, okay, I know that I'm thinking unrealistic here, that doesn't just fix it magically. Let me make that clear. Obviously not. But I find that when you do that time and time again, and you become, you start to become more aware of how flawed your thinking is with anxiety, right? And that starts to move you into a more and more realistic mindset, right? Because your thinking starts to get fused with your more your anxious thinking starts to get fused with your more realistic thinking, right? And slowly it becomes more and more realistic and less anxious, right? And so what I'm trying to tell you guys is next time you're want to make a decision or do something that has risk or whatever, and your anxiety is stopping you and having these unrealistic thoughts, just stop for a second and acknowledge your thinking, right? Acknowledge in the moment how it's flawed and unrealistic, and just do that. And from there, continue to do that in those situations, and I think you'll find that over time you'll continue to kind of catch yourself before things spiral, and you'll be like, okay, now I'm thinking unrealistic here. You'll put your foot take your foot off the gas for a second, and you'll start to ground your thoughts more realistically. So yeah, that's where I'd probably leave it at. I hope that really helps for you guys. I'm not a therapist, and I'm not saying this will work for everyone. This has really worked for me. I feel like there's been a lot of things that I've done over these past few months that, like I said, I like to use this analogy a lot. I think of like, there's you and anxiety, right? You're in a car, and anxiety's been driving, right, for a while. And in these decisions, anxiety's the driver, right? Anxiety's in the driver's seat. You're in the passenger seat watching. You can't control it. But I hope that with, these tips that you guys can put anxiety in the passenger seat, right? And you take the wheel. You're the driver. And like I say, anxiety is always going to be there. Anxiety is always going to be the passenger, but hopefully you guys can be the drivers for the rest of your life, or at some point become the drivers soon, because that's what we all want. And I feel like I've really been able to do that over this past year by just acknowledging, right? Acknowledge my unrealistic thinking. And kind of just be aware of it. Be aware that you're thinking unrealistically. Over time, you should start to think more realistically. But yeah, that's it for tonight. Hopefully you guys get some sleep. It's super late here. It's 3:16 a.m. So I need to get sleep as well. Comment down below, and of course send emails, guys, please. I'll have the email linked in the description if you want any questions answered or want a video out. Even if you don't want a video, just email me. I can try to help you all out. But thanks for watching, guys. Good night.